Good afternoon, guys. Thank you all for joining us today. Today is November the 6th, 2021. It's a few minutes past 3 p.m., and we appreciate you all taking time out today to join us with the International Association of Woodcarvers. Today we got on our meeting some special guests that mean a lot to the association. They're big sponsors of ours. They contribute quite a bit to our meetings. I want to welcome Holly and Rich Smithson of Helvie Knives, and you'll see right here their sign. We'll talk a little bit to Holly and Rich here in a few minutes. I want to run through a few things that's going on with the group before we get started. First thing, Rich is going to be working on making a knife today in the meeting. That knife is going to be up for auction in this meeting. So if you're interested in winning that knife, make sure you go down and you bid on that in the chat. We'll allow that auction to go throughout this meeting today. And at the end, I'll try to remember to come in and let you all know that I'm getting ready to close it, give you another chance to bid. And then when the bid is over, the person that wins it needs to stay on so that we can finalize that. Any proceeds that we make on that knife will go to fund these meetings. So it goes towards the Zoom membership that we have to be able to have these meetings. Rich and Holly have been very generous as far as donating knives to this group on a regular basis. I think we've gotten one about every month for quite a while now. And the proceeds that we auction those for goes towards our membership. So we'd like to, first of all, thank them for their contributions each time. Those, again, help us to continue to have these meetings. So it's been a big benefit. Coming up on our meetings, we've got a few things that's going on. Next week, we'll have Mr. Ryan Olson on. He's going to come on. He's a CCA member. He's probably going to be doing a demonstration. So make sure you tune in next week at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On November the 20th, Dwayne Gosnell, who's also a CCA member, he's going to be coming on and doing a demonstration on snowmen. So make sure you tune in on the 20th to hear from Dwayne. On the 27th of November, we're going to be off. That's the week of Thanksgiving, so we won't be meeting that week. Then we'll come back in on December the 4th. Dave Dion will be with us. On December the 11th, Del Green, who's probably on this meeting today, will be on with us. And then December the 18th, Eric Owens will be on with us. And then we'll be off the week of Christmas and New Year's and try to start back up in January. So that is the plan as far as the meetings go. Make sure you go out and you check out articles and advertisements through Woodcarving Illustrated and Chipping Away. They've been very generous to advertise our group on there. So make sure that you're subscribing to those two groups. We also want to remind you about Chipping Away that you see here. Chipping Away has been a big contributor to our group as well. So we try to advertise for them. Make sure if you're looking for wood carving tools, wood, any kind of thing like that, you go out and check out Chipping Away online and see if they can go out and help you. So having said all of that, again, we want to thank Rich and Holly for coming on today. They're going to be going through the process of what it takes to make a Helvie knife. I know a lot of us on this meeting either has a Helvie, wants a Helvie, or wants several Helvies. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to allow them to come through and tell us what all it takes to make one of those and what their process is so that everybody is aware of that. And really just to see the craftsmanship that goes into making those knives. So go ahead and turn it over to Holly and Rich. Again, thank you all for coming on. And Rich, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks, Blake. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank Blake and Thom for putting all this together for you guys. And Dave. It's a wonderful group where you guys can come once a week and there's a podcast. And don't forget buy them a cup of coffee that they have. It's a good way to keep this organization going for everybody throughout the world to see. So we're going to start off first with our wood. You know, our wood comes in. We don't make the wood, but we have to cut it. So it comes in panels. And we cut it in strips on a table saw. And then a miter saw cuts it into our little 5-inch pieces. And Holly will drag the routers out. She'll miter saw them. and she'll router these little slots in here. That's where your blade goes in. So 2 pieces to make a handle. But before we get to that, the little black and white pieces that make Helvie knives stand out from other knives. They've always had the black and white piece on there. So those have to be cut into strips also. And then I have to put these little slots in them.
Put them down.
For the blades to go through. And if you, I don't know if you can see, but they burr. So each piece, Holly cleans all these off, or they won't lay flat on the knife handle, even the edges. Have to all be trimmed down, cut them little burrs off there. Both sides. Kind of a nuisance after you do a couple hundred of them. Same thing with the black piece. Kind of scrape that up burr off there and get the edge off all nice and clean so it'll lay flat on your knife handle. Then you got your blade, put your glue on there. Put that piece on there, put some glue on there. And that goes in your handle. Now, you know, a 2-inch blade, she's got to measure. So it's out 2-inch, 1 3/4, 1 3/4, and so on. So now we're going to go out to the vise room. This one's already been glued because this will be hard to hold together. And I'm going to show you what we do out there. She sets Tuesday through Friday and starts gluing knife handles while I'm driving home from work. Yeah, I work a job I have to punch a clock Tuesday through Friday. So when I get home, I'll grab the pile she's got and I'll come out here and start putting them in. We just do them in little batches. But there's been times where we couldn't do that. We had to set and glue over 100 at once just because of maybe something come up the following weekend. But anyways, so we're going to walk out here to what we call the vise room, which is a shed we had built to put out here because our shop is very little. So these are all the vices. In case anybody wants to know, there's 109 of them. And there's still some in some boxes. You wait for these to break. And we have a whole bunch of C-clamps. They're all notched right in there for that blade to go through. So when I come out here, and this one must have had a longer knife handle in it. We'll squeeze that in there, and then I have to check the blade to make sure it's straight. So I'm looking down the seam of the knife, and then I'm looking this way because it can still cock a little bit with all the pressure being put up here. And this took 26 years to figure this out, which I skipped a step because I never used to do it. We get so much glue on the end of this. And Holly would come out and hit them with the sander and get them smooth again because all the glue that oozes out. Well, Skylar, start cutting your little macaroni and cheese boxes and pizza boxes. And now I put them on there and put that in there. Then presto, and I put it up in the vise. And smash it down in there. Now I'll come back out after we do a bunch and I'll start, you know, in order so I know which ones were done first. And I pull every one of them back out. And I look and make sure they're straight because the pressure here can once again cock that blade over. Believe me, got a lot of crooked ones. So this is the vise room. I don't know how many C clamps. I did count them. I think there's maybe 125 or so.
I don't remember.
And the
What
reason
do you
for
do?
that is that
What do you do if you find that one of the blades is off kilter?
if I miss it, I cut the steel out of it and throw the handle away.
Okay, thank you.
Generally, yeah, there's still a handful throughout the year that, you know, I'll check twice and then I'll come out and there might have been an air bubble or something in there and that blade will be sticking out here, almost ready to fall out. And I'm like, wow, what happened there? So I'll just get the bandsaw and run it in there and cut the blade out, clean it, and reuse it, throw the wood away. Then we have little smaller C clamps, and these are for the bull nose gouges. As you can tell, they're, you know, a little short stubby knife's gonna fit in there, a palm knife or something. So that's why there's more C clamps than there is vices, because I got tired of cranking it all the way up for the shorter knives. All right, now we're going to go venture into what we call the sanding room.
I'm gonna do a two-step. There you go.
Yeah.
Shut the door.
So you can see the shop's not very big and everything is handmade out here. Now this is the knife that Blake was showing. The reason I went ahead and got to use this one, I wanted to put this decorative piece on there. This is going to be a Gerald Sears Signature Series number 6. He was the only one that had a pack of wood series number. And you all may have, if you got an old one, I used to burn his name on the sheath. So I don't die of lung cancer. Because I have to live forever. We'll put my RZ mask on. And it's going to get really noisy in here as I turn on the dust collectors. And I even use these little ones. I think you guys use the power carve with it. Just catches some of the dust that goes over this. And like I said, there's a little bull noses we were talking about. I'm going to shape out both of these handles so you can see that every handle shape comes from this 5-inch piece of wood. But we'll do the Gerald Sears number 6 first. Okay, I'm going to try to taper up to the blade. Now we're going to knock these corners off. Now I'm going to get a little bit rounder. Now we'll pick out another handle. I'll just pick out a handle for you. All right, this one was a finger groove, but we're going to finish the other one. I just wanted to show you two different handle shapes. I always like to tape up the blade. These little edges are still sharp on there.
Yeah, you've got to tell about precious steel.
Yeah. And if you guys were to order like a mini detail knife, this steel would have to be cut in half. We have a surface grinder out in the garage because it can't fit out here because this is not very big enough for me. But two people, you'd be bumping into each other all the time. So we strip our steel, it comes in blanks. We don't heat treat it. Pay somebody else to do it. But all right, I got to put my glasses on now and see if I can get all this 80 grit scratches out of this first belt sander. Must have cut my thumb.
Be bleeding?
There's blood on this knife.
Some DNA.
You get something special with this one. Okay, this next sander has lesser grit. It turns a lot slower. And it'll help me get rid of these ridge lines in here that the big sander put on there.
Do you need a Band-Aid?
Not yet. Okay, now we got this thing pretty smooth, but it still has a lot of scratches in it. So now we have what's called a drum sander that will start sanding this with the grain, and it helps get rid of some of the scratches and helps round it too. Might break out a bacon Band-Aid, looks like.
Yeah, go get a bacon Band-Aid.
But now that it is pretty smooth. So we went from 80 grit, that's where we shaped it out, to 100, to 120, to 180. Now I'm going to go in here to the palm sander, which would be the last step for sanding this knife.
240.
Yeah, it's 240 grit.
Hey, Holly, while he's walking in there was a question in the chat about what kind of glue you use as far as the glue up. Do you use epoxy or something else?
Two-part epoxy.
All right, first one I get to use. Bacon Band-Aid.
And sorry, I didn't see any questions come through. I was focused at trying to keep Rich and camera through the movement. So my bad.
It's okay. I'll keep an eye on it and let you know.
Okay.
Okay, here's just the palm sander. We'll put a fresh piece of sandpaper on there.
That even comes in sheets.
Yeah, Holly sits in there and cuts these in little squares for me.
They come in 9x11 sheets and I cut them in 4s.
You know what? I need to see on this one too. It helps to see what scratches you miss and if you got to go back again. All right, we're going to sand this baby up. This is very loud. All right, this is the good old red, white, and blue knife. Now the next step is we're going to make this thing shiny. So we got our buffing wheel, white compound.
Hang on. Somebody asked about the blade thickness and if it's the same for every knife. So would you give description?
No, your rough out blades are thicker. By the time I'm done sharpening them, they're probably about 50 thousandths thick. The detail, they start out at 35 thousandths, medium detail. They're probably maybe 34 to 33 thousandths after I shine them up. Then we have what's called the hogger. That's our thickest steel and widest. It's 5/8 wide and it's closer to like 58 thousandths thick.
Somebody asked what handle shape is the hardest one to make.
Probably the one that I eliminated. You know, we went to 10 handle shapes and they were 10 of the somewhat most popular ones, but there was a couple that I eliminated because they were popular, but the double hump, which is still one of my favorite, is a lot of sanding, and the whale tail handle. But as far as out of the 10 that we offer now, probably the Dave Stetson handle, only because you're taking off so much wood because his is so narrow. It tapers, like this white would be only show up right here. It'd go all the way in, and the same with the top or the top and bottom of the knife would taper to the blade.
Say turn that off. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say probably the Stetson handle, but you know, that's just Dave. He's going to be hard about everything. All right. We're going to shine this up now. You can see the difference already. And I am pushing very hard. Mhm. Yeah, I just went here down. So now I'm going to do somewhere from there to there. A little more compound on and do the back end. So this is a special knife that the International is going to auction off during this. It's got the nice little cap on the end of it, so it's not something we typically do anymore. I won't say it's a one of a kind, but it'll be a nice addition to anybody's little carving box. All right, now I'm going to sharpen this blade up. We're going to move this stuff out of this box. This is the famous Facebook box. You see all the knives, get pictures in here. This is a very ancient Helvie I've had a long time. I just use it to peel the tape off. All right. 80 grit belt. Gonna start putting the bevel on it. Gonna start out really small down in here. Then I'm gonna move the bevel up to somewhere right in here eventually.
What length is the blade going to be?
This is I think it's 2 inches. Just a little over 2, so we'll make it a 2-inch or as close as possible to 2 inches. All right.
And it's our rough out steel.
I'm gonna be going back and forth from side to side. These are already tempered. You don't want to get it hot. But my advice is to dunk it anyways, even if it's just warm.
Somebody asked to see the rear end of the knife.
I keep looking at my beveled edge. I want to see how close I'm getting. Or I need to start raising it up. Like I said, don't get it hot. Go back this side. Okay, I'm getting pretty close. I'm gonna start moving that bevel up.
Dave Stephen said something, but I didn't get to read it for it disappeared.
Maybe he wants me to sharpen and look at the camera. See, I've gotten a little bit higher, but I'm still going to go up higher yet. But I don't want to have a fur edge yet. All right, we'll raise the other side now. I don't know if you can see the two bevels on there, but that's where I'm raising the bevel up. It's going to meet this little bevel.
Dog is going to be a robot blade.
That's the other side.
Hi, Tommy.
Okay, that was 80. Now I'm going to go to 120 grit.
Hello, Holly.
Yeah, there's good.
Okay, now we're on 120. I'm going to try to get rid of the 80 grit scatches.
Yeah. We call this our two-step because it's so small in here. I can't. So sorry if it doesn't look real good.
You're doing a real fine job, Holly. Don't you worry about it.
Remember, heat is not your friend. But we're going to go the other side. And I kind of move it around. I'm trying to get those scratches. And I think if I just go in the same direction, it takes longer.
Two-step.
Also, I'm rocking it, trying to get rid of that beveled line. It's still there. I'm just hiding it. Okay, now we're going to go to 220.
Trying to get run the light. You can see the bevel.
No, you can't see the bevel right there.
No, can't see it.
It's hidden.
It's hidden.
All right, 220 grit. All right, other side. All right, you guys may see me, it appears I push harder. I'm seeing some scratches up here in the top of the blade. I'm just trying to hit them. Now I start rocking it. You'll see me start rocking it up the belt or just doing that little motion. I'm rounding that hard bevel off. So now we're going to do a 400 grit belt. We do the same thing over and over again.
Rich calls this his Bill Murray Groundhog Day. Same thing, over and over and over again.
Yeah, Bill Murray ain't got nothing on me. Okay, that was 400. Now 600 is where I want to really start getting the burr to show up. That's where the two sides of your metal crossed each other. Get your burr at 80 grit, you just wasted a lot of steel. Okay, 600, here we go. All right, we're gonna switch sides. See if we can't get this burr to show up. This will be really hard to show on a camera. I can see it at my angle. There's a white line right down that blade.
You can almost kind of see it.
Here, you tilt it around. I'll change the belt.
I think you can almost, what's bad is that the ground has got the gray mat on it, so the camera doesn't want to focus.
You can see it.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
now we're going to 800. Basically getting the scratches off from the 600 group. Remember, don't burn. You don't have to go for a long time on there. Even if you're not sure, you don't have to touch it. Just put it in the water before it turns black. All right, I'm on the other side. All right, last step as far as the blade part of sharpening it is 1200 grit. All right. This is where I'm definitely looking for any little scratches, but I can't get them all out. You guys have probably got knives that have little scratches on them. Now I've used the sandpaper to take off most of the glue around here. Now I'll try to
Show 'em.
scrape off whatever's left. This knife was made by Ken Helvie in the early 90s. It's been a shop knife forever. He tried putting 2 pieces of the black and 2 pieces of the white on there. And it was a junk piece of wood. You notice this color doesn't run all the way through right there. It ends. So he's like, let's do something weird. And this is one of the handle shapes that I shaped out just, monkeying around with this belt sander in the 90s. All right, now we're going to put our bevel on there. I can do it probably the unsafe way that somebody will let me know it's unsafe. But if you want to see how I do it, I don't set at the belt and go like that forever. I come over to a cutoff wheel and chop off some of it. That just saves me some time. Now I'm going to start shaping. This is where I get all the holes in my shirt down here. And I've had people say that if you do that, you're getting the tip hot. Only if you push so hard. See, if that's not, if it's hot, I'd be screaming, ah! All right, we're at 2 inches right there. I take one of these old belts, whether it's 220, 400, 600, and I use it to clean the glue off my fingers first. That's what that is. Probably why I don't have no fingerprints. The back of the knife is still sharp because we just ground that off. I mean, that's still got a sharp edge on it. Some of you guys carve like this, dig into your fingers. So now I'm going to round this back. Okay, we got our little burr line that you guys seen. This is nice and smooth now. Now I'm going to buff that burr off. 8-inch buffing wheels, non-sewed, white compound. Don't know if it's any better than anything else, but that's all that's ever been used out here. So I buff these very hard. Probably not recommended you do that, but I do it. I probably wouldn't do it more than, when you sharpen your own knife, you probably want to use a strop. Knife will last longer.
Oh.
I'm going to do the back side because we like it nice and shiny. You do have to be careful because if you get that cutting edge in there, it's going to rip your arm down and you just slice the big gouge in your wheel.
Or you'll stab yourself in the foot with your knife.
So now, same thing on this side. Okay, these burrs, like shaving with a dull razor, they just want to stay there and you can see the little hair. So I'll stand in the middle. Since I just did this side, now I want to go this way and flip that burr the other way if it's still on this knife. And now I'm just lightly flipping her around. Then we get out a piece of wood. I prefer the hard Indiana basswood, because if it'll cut this, it's going to cut through that Heineke good wood. I'm looking for scratch marks, and I'm not seeing any. And I'll start rolling the wood around. Then I'll check the tip again. Make sure it has a nice clean cut on there. And I don't see any drag marks, so I'd say this one's ready to be auctioned off. I bid $5. So that's
You've been outbid, Rich.
You've been outbid.
oh, have I bid $5.50.
Rich, this is Jack. When you use your buffing wheel, you use a cotton. Have you ever tried the compressed paper? And what do you see the
No.
pros and cons are?
No, I've never used anything but that.
Okay.
I have at other places where I wasn't a knife sharpener, but somebody had maybe the John Burke system or something they rigged up themselves. I think if you use whatever you're used to, you can make anything work. The cotton, I think, pulls the burr off faster and gives you a cleaner edge, but I've never used paper. I've used a couple sewn wheels and I didn't like it. So you get where the thread is, it's really hard on your knife blade, I think. So, but like I said, this is the original knife belt sander that Ken Helvie bought. So this was bought in 1988 or 89, somewhere around there. That floppy sander that you guys seen, the sanding drum, he didn't buy that till around the mid to late 90s. We had to hand sand everything off the first sander. So he had 8 palm sanders mounted on a table. And you started with 80 grit, 120, 220, and a 320. That was Ken Helvie's way he did it. And that's why I think if you get some really old knives, they're really square, because he didn't roll them like I did on the belt sander. I don't know why he'd never do that. He'd hand me that knife and he just knocked the corners off of it. So then he bought the second sander. Probably I started there in 1993. Maybe 95, he bought that second sander, and we got him smoother so we could go over to the palm sander. It wasn't so bad. Somewhere around, I'm gonna say 96 or 97, he bought a floppy sander that didn't work. It was a cheap one, and it had the sandpaper was horrible. Then he come across this one and bought it, and it was like night and day. I mean, you went to where you only had to use 320, or we used 240 on the palm sander, and it was ready to buff. But back then, you would sit there and sand knives for 4 or 5 hours just getting those hard ridges out. So, he made a lot of progression, and then 2004, me and Holly bought him out, and I had all these ideas in my head to make natural wood knives and some stubby knives, palm knives, and then eventually the Signature Series knives came out in 2006. And we've added chip knives, and we've added a lot of different knife blades. So I guess if there's any questions on the process, but later on, this will be sent to Blake,
They're bidding on it now.
and somebody will win a knife that, maybe Holly will print off a certificate saying that this is the International Woodcarver Show live knife. And we'll sign it if you want one. Because, I don't know how many people watch this, but
Mhm.
lots of people just seen this one made. You could own it.
Don asked if we put any finish on the handle. Don, all he did was buff it with the white buffing compound on the buffing wheel. That's the only finish that goes on the laminated wood.
Yeah, the only thing that's sprayed is some knives that I paint or wood burn or things like that, signature knives. Don Mertz had that painted B on there, so I would spray his. But his got dye too, and that was dunking it in this leather dye that's up there. I think there's a couple of them back there drying. So probably caked in
What do you
sawdust.
recommend for handle care? Don asked.
If your pack of wood knife gets dull and it bothers you, I would tape the blade because you don't want to slice your hand. And you can take sandpaper and you can lightly buff the oils that start breaking down that buffing compound or sweat from your skin. And you can probably get it shiny with this, as long as you don't have black stuff all over. Just a buffing wheel with some compound on it so you don't burn the wood, and it'll shine right back up. But I think you need to get the oils out of the knife hand. If I dip it in water and I stick it too far and it gets around here, it'll start dulling that finish. So I know sweat will start dulling it.
He said thanks. Mhm.
Hey, Rich, tell us how much time Ken Helvie spent training you on sharpening knives.
Well, that's funny. He didn't even tell his wife he sold the business. July 1st, 2004, showed up with a truck and trailer, started carrying his stuff out of there. His wife shows up, says, "What are you doing, Helvie?" Sold the business. What? So they went in the house and fought while I kept carrying stuff out. The last thing we carried out was this. Kenny had 24 knives that was going to a store. That was his last order. It may have been like the woodcraft shop or something. Put those 24 knives out, and me and him started sharpening. Maybe we spent 3 hours, and then he said, "I think you got it." So we get back to Tipton, set everything up. We start getting orders. I thought I was going to cry because I think I threw away possibly maybe 7 out of every 10 knives got pitched in the trash. I could make the handles. I started making the handles. All Ken Helvie did from about 1998 on was sharpen the blades. I glued them up. I sanded them, shaped them, sanded them, but he'd never show me how to sharpen them because he had this weird illusion that I was going to make my own knife. I kept saying, I'm quitting when you're quitting, but I didn't. So about a 3-hour crash course, and then I called him back up because he had 2 of these. He kept the other one. I went back over there with about 50 knives, and we spent maybe 4 or 5 hours sharpening those. I came back, so now I still didn't know what I was doing. But it went from maybe burning 6 or 7 knives down to burning 3 or 4. And they were just getting pitched in the trash. And of course, I'm thinking, well, we're not going to make it. So I quit doing it the way he showed me. I did it my way. Still his basic technique, but I figured out that I was getting that bird edge too soon, which Kenny didn't, but I did. I was getting with the 80 grit, I was getting down to the burr, and I think I just was burning the edge because it was just too thin. Trying to use the belt too long because they cost money, so you try to get every little knife out of it, you know. I figured, well, you're better off just to pitch it. You probably don't, I didn't show you these. I write numbers on them. That tells me how hard I can push, how easy I need to push. When I hit 300, I throw it in the trash. I found out 300, I didn't spend much more time. Now, of course, when you're up here at 5 and doing 10, 12 to probably 100, it takes the metal away pretty fast, so you're faster at it. I could throw the belt away at 100, but we'd be going through a bunch of them. So I've learned to just write the number down and take my time, not burn them. I just know in my head how long now I can stay on that belt before I need to dunk it. And I made myself dunk it. I used to not dunk any knives. That's probably why they were burning all the time. So it's kind of, if you're using a brand new belt, which this is crazy, you don't have to dunk any of it. It takes, the grit is so, I guess, aggressive that it gets what you want. But it also leaves scratches on the blades. Even a 1200 will leave 1200 grit scratches till that blade gets wore down just a little bit.
But would you say that it's kind of a touch that, you know, it's a pressure thing? It's all touch. If I look and I see that I'm a little bit thicker in the middle, I will push with this thumb and pull with this hand, and I'll bend that blade so it only hits in the middle. That was something I don't think Helvie did that, because some of his blades were kind of crooked looking, wavy. It's real hard to get that middle part. One, because your pressure point at the end, you're pushing here, and then of course here, when you're back in here, you're never hitting the middle as hard. So I've spent a lot of time trying to stroke that. And what really clicked, I believe, I started watching my sparks. My sparks tell me where I'm at on that blade. And I think that's the biggest key. And yes, I can watch TV and sharpen this knife because I can feel it. And in my head, I know how many seconds I've been on that blade that I need to dunk it. I think about bacon sometimes, look at the ceiling. But no, actually, I have caught myself looking around when I'm sharpening blades. I tried it one-handed, but I can only do it on one side, straight. The other side, it don't work so well, like this, I guess. So this side, I can do it with one hand. Can't use my left hand by itself.
Hey, Rich, any
I was gonna
idea
say-
how many knives you all make in a year?
I try somewhere around 45 to 50 a week is what we try to push out, but some of those are signature knives. I try to do 12 signature knives a week. So really 38 knives go out to the general public. And 12 to the signature guys. There's a big rotation of them. But then there's weeks, like for the next 4 weeks, we have mandatory overtime at work. So that gives me 2 days out here. So those weeks, less are made. And then you have weeks where things come up on weekends and you don't make any knives. Then when you plan for shows, you have to shut it down and work on show knives, and can't keep feeding the website. It's just not possible. So we try to balance it out with the signature guys, the website, the show, and spending time with Skylar. You know, if she wants to have a bonfire, or she wants to go somewhere, walk through the woods, go fishing, I'm not going to make knives that day. That's just, you know, she's only little once. Before
Yeah, I
long,
was
she
going to
won't
ask
like
you, what
it.
do you guys do for fun? Do you ever get away for a while?
We we never used to take vacations, but you know, I guess I'm going to kind of interfere here. You can get burned out real quick if we have to sometimes take a break from this and spend some time together and go take vacations. So we've learned that for sanity's purpose, that Rich gave you the max of what we can make a week. But that's if you go all gung ho and all full bore. And that's just barely sleeping. But so you got to be real careful. You don't take a break. And Bill Pugh asked if you had any wormy chestnut left. And then there was someone on here who asked about how to get a knife. There is a contact us on our website where you can go in there and type a message and you can send me an email. And I got to admit, I literally filled probably hundreds of emails a week. So if I don't get back to you that same day, I'm not ignoring you, I promise. It just, sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to get through them some days than others. I think I got them all except for the wormy
Bill
chestnut.
Pugh, yes, I still
Okay.
have wormy chestnut. I think it's your wormy chestnut.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's in a box.
Hey, it looks like Bob Flanagan has his hand up, so I think he has a question.
No, I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
No problem.
How do I take it off?
It's okay. So what other questions do we have for Rich and Holly while we have them on today?
I'd just like to ask, what's your favorite handle to make?
The easiest handle is the oval handle, which is the second one I made without the finger grooves in it. Probably the one I think that looks the neatest to me is probably the Gerald Sears handle. Because I've always thought it looked like a little shotgun, but like the stock end of a shotgun. I always thought that was a pretty neat handle. I widened the back of it. Gerald's design was all this, but it was round in here. It was probably this white line, and it would just look like a stick coming back. I told him, I don't know, it looked too funny. So I actually just made it wider in the back, and he liked it. Well, he didn't like it because he made a second knife, and he sent that to us, said he didn't like this handle shape. So me and him argued about it. I said, well, I'm keeping this one. And he said, well, I like the other one. Well, that's how we started Arcanum Signature Series 2, 3, 4. You know, before it was just, there was no Signature Series number. It was just a signature knife. Until Gerald said, hey, I like this second handle better. Probably the one I don't like to hold, to sharpen, is the whale tail. It's so thin in the back that it's probably the hardest one to sharpen as far as me holding it, but I don't mind carving with it though. It feels pretty good carving, but to sharpen it's difficult. Maybe it's because, you know, you got your two hands, you got so much pressure back here, and that whale tail curves down and it's really ate up right here. It's hardly any wood there. But, you know, if anybody's interested in, I guess, the story behind how I started at Helvie Knives, we can talk about that, or if there's more questions.
Just one quick question. I've been trying for over a year to get a knife from you people. How does one get a knife?
Did you
Well-
email her?
I was gonna say, did you email me?
Yeah, I did a while back, but I guess you were awful busy. I didn't get a response.
I was gonna say then there must have been an error on my behalf if I missed an email, because I reply to everyone. So I apologize if I missed your email.
No worries. I'll send another one to you then. Thank you.
Okay.
That's the best way to ask questions is
Email, not social media.
Helvie
no.
Knives, Gmail, not Facebook and Instagram. Even if I put a post on Facebook, doesn't mean I'm going to go back and read the comments. That's just me.
It's very time consuming.
She usually answers a lot of them. I just put a post, usually a picture of a knife. Lately, I haven't been posting anything. It's just been so busy. We just come off the Wisconsin show that Holly and Skylar went to and the Renegade in October. And then we turned our website on yesterday. So I'll be gearing up for those. You know, we've been gluing whatever we list on there, we try to glue them up, and then that's what we'll make in the next few months to get those out.
What shows do you have coming up, Rich? What are y'all going to be at in the future?
Well, Holly and Skylar's going to be at the Renegade in March for one day, Monday, in Lebanon, Tennessee. And then I believe it's April, we'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Showcase of Woodcarvers, something like that.
You sharpen.
And I will be sharpening there too. If you guys want to bring out some dull knives, we can tune them up. And then I'll be heading out to Utah for the Rocky Mountain Roundup
May.
in May. And I'll be sharpening there too.
And then there's September.
Then, oh yeah, September's the new thing. The CCA is putting on their own seminar / woodcarving competition
Colorado.
in Colorado Springs, Colorado. From what I heard, they're supposed to have 4 instructors on Saturday. They'll be judging, they'll be having their meeting on Friday and judging the show. And then teaching Saturday, and then I don't know if it's 4 different people teaching Sunday,
I don't
or
know.
if
They'll let
it's
us
the
know.
4 same, but if Stetson's still on there, he could probably answer that one. And I think that's it for the year, unless Holly goes to the Renegade in October. But we do the Renegade, it's usually just one day. So Lebanon, Tennessee, I don't know if you live close, but Utah and Colorado will probably be the farthest west we ever go. And, you know, I'm not going to say next year be the only time, but I don't know. I would make a trip if you want to hold some of these knives and get a chance to look at them.
Even if you come by the Renegade and you're not there participating in the seminar, you can. There's lots of the wood carvers there teaching. They have rough outs for sale, and you can check it out. So there's things you can walk in and do. So it's just fun, and you can get a hold of Steve Brown for information on that as well. It's on his website.
And carvings.
Yes, and there's carvings for sale.
I have a question. Is it harder to make the single blades that you sell or the ones with the handles?
Well, if you don't have to make the handle, it's just quicker just to make the blade. But I would sharpen the blade the same way. Goes into a dummy handle, just slides in, so it'd be just like that. So it'd be the same amount of time as far as the blade, but I don't have to make a handle for it. So we do offer blades here and there. I'll put some in here and sharpen them up while I'm sharpening knives. One good thing though, is if you ruin the blade, you didn't ruin the handle. The handle doesn't go in the trash. Just take the blade out, pitch it. You know what's so strange? If you burn the bottom of the blade, and I know we sell them as a rough out, but I could take that blade out and grind half of it away and sell it as a mini knife because I only burnt the edge of it. But I can't sell it as a rough out because I've already wasted that metal at the bottom that I have to flatten back out to get past the burn line. Or you could turn it over and make it a sweep blade and sharpen the other side.
Mhm.
But it's hard in a handle because then it'd be an upside down Gerald Sears.
So it looks like we're at about 15 after 4. We'll go ahead and let everybody know that this is probably the last call for the auction. It's at 3:25 right now. If anybody else has any other questions for Rich and Holly, if you'll go ahead and ask those now. We'll leave the auction open for just a few more minutes.
This will come with a sheath. We'll put a leather sheath on it. That is pretty wood. I've always liked the red, white, and blue. And we had this back in the 90s also, red, white, and blue. Our colors have changed over the years. So lots of people ask me, how do you know the date or approximate date of knives? Some of them are the colors. When I started there, he only had so many colors. And we added colors. And then he went to a period where he couldn't get any of his multicolored wood. So he went to another company and all they had was solid colored wood. So he bought a pile. So if you guys have knives that are maroon, solid blue, red, orange, green, I think were the colors he had. Those were sometime in the mid 90s. The black was there when I started. He had a black and he had a real pretty solid blue color, but it was real thick wood. He almost only made jumbo knives out of that. So, you know, sometime soon we'll be running out of some of the colors we've had for years, and we'll be into newer colors.
Somebody asked what type of wood you use on Mertz handles.
If they're dyed, if you get one that's green, yellow, purple, blue, those are maple. If you get one that's just wood burn, those are cherry. If you get the Super B number 28, it's the only one that's made out of walnut.
You having a hard time getting material? Your steel and wood
Yes.
now?
Yes.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. There's supply chain issues all over the place.
Right.
So that's you got to be real careful too to have your inventory controlled in place because we're kind of on the bottom of the totem pole to get material.
Yeah, you don't want to burn too many blades.
Yeah, we'll run out of steel.
Right. I understand.
We're on a backlog right now. They're already 4 months late on our last steel order. So, yeah.
Well,
It is just what it is.
Yep. I went to look at a bandsaw and they're still waiting on saws they ordered last January. And they haven't got their, yeah.
see, I only hope that none of this, the more powerful machinery, like that grizzly grinder doesn't take a dump, because I can't imagine trying to shape a handle. This wood's so hard on a Harbor Freight sander. I don't think it could do it. I don't think it has the power to do it. But I say that, and that's what Ken Helvie used when I first walked in there. But he had that grizzly. He was afraid of it. I think it chewed some of his finger off. So he was using a smaller sander, and it would take him maybe 10 to 15 minutes to shape out a handle because it just didn't turn very fast. But let's just hope nothing bad happens.
Is it US steel you're using?
I'm sorry.
Is the steel from the US?
everything in the knives from the US. Yep.
We don't deal with vendors anywhere outside the US. Even our materials and supplies both are purchased within the US.
All right. Any other questions for Rich and Holly at this time? Looks like the bid's now at 3:30. We'll leave it open for just a couple more minutes.
See, that's because I said it came with a sheath.
That's right.
Just want to say thank you very much. It was a great demonstration. Really appreciate your time.
Well, we appreciate everything you guys are doing for wood carving. It's really neat. So
Yeah.
I hope this continues on, and I hope that we can help you guys with the sponsorship, and that's our goal, is you guys don't have to pay for nothing out of your own pocket. So
Well, we'll go ahead and call the auction. Thank you all. Looks like the last bid just came in at 332. Thank you all for joining us. Rich and Holly, I just want to say thank you all for all that you do for wood carving. I think as far as knife makers goes, you all are top of the line in my book. Everything handmade, top quality products, some of the sharpest knives you can get. So thank you all for all that you do. Thank you for the contribution you make to this organization and all you do for the carving community. We really appreciate that. Just want to say thank you all for coming on and for all those people who bid. I know there's been some discussion as far as the best way to raise money for this organization. Thom and I have discussed it on several occasions. We feel as though these auctions are probably the best way that the two of us can keep track of it, just because it's only the two of us. Dave Levee is also on here. He's our sound guy. He does kind of behind the scenes stuff. But this organization is just ran by the two of us the same way it is with Helvie Knives with Rich and Holly. So we try to do the best we can as far as the number of people we have. So want to remind you all of the workshops we've got coming up. Again, if you check out the Woodcarving Academy, you can see all about the workshops that are available for carvers. They're really getting cranked back up now that it's getting cool outside, and should be a lot of opportunity for carvers. Dave Stetson started a class today, so his Santa class is going on currently. Kevin Applegate will be doing a Santa ornament class starting on December the 4th. You can see that out on Woodcarving Academy. Janet Cordell is going to be doing a realistic wolf class starting December the 6th. Our presenter, Ryan Olson, that's going to be with us next week. I messaged him earlier today. He's going to be on with us doing a demonstration on carving a miniature with a single knife. He has a class coming up on January the 8th on designing and carving miniatures. So you'll get a little taste of that next week. And then Dave Stetson has another class starting on January the 8th on facial planes. So make sure you go out and check out all those. Contact the individuals that's offering the classes if you're interested in signing up. Some of them require rough out, so you may want to purchase those in advance of the class. So make sure you check out all their offerings on Woodcarving Academy. Again, that's a good opportunity to sign up for membership as well. In case you've missed some classes in the past, you can go out and check those out on Woodcarving Academy. Again, thank you all for joining us today. Rich and Holly, thanks for all that you do. Thanks for the donation. If the winner of the bid will stay on, that looked like it was Don Kinsel. If you'll stay on at the end of the meeting, we'll gather your information so that we can take care of that transaction. And once that knife comes in, then I'll ship that out to you from Rich and Holly. Thank you all for joining us on the International Association of Woodcarvers. Join us next Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Mr. Ryan Olson. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.